Hi, Kate. I'm happy to have this conversation with you about how elite athletes can help to fuel themselves for endurance. You are somebody who I just marvel at these adventure races you do, where you and your friends get to go for like 9 hours at a time, and you just seem to bounce back from them. And I just want to know more. So
Yeah.
tell me your story, tell me your secrets.
Yeah, well, thank you for welcoming me onto this call. Super appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, I have always really loved the outdoors and um, being out, tramping, skiing, kayaking, all of that. And I think 10 years ago, this opportunity came to form with a group of two of really close friends to actually compete in these races. And it's been a lot of fun. And I was just adding up before, we've done 19 races together as a team of three. So we know each other well and we know where each other's strengths and weaknesses are, which is really cool. So it was actually in, ooh, 2014 was the first race that we did together, and it involves kayaking. Or in the summer it's kayaking, in the winter it's rafting. But then most of it is either on a bike or on foot, and you're given a map, and you uh, are given control points that you have to then go and find. And so it's a mix of skills of the navigation, which can totally win or lose a race, and then it's the physical that
Yeah,
goes
so you've got to be mentally
with
and
it.
physically kind of on point. And I remember you sharing with me that you had a health setback that made that was sort of heartbreaking for you in terms of endurance stuff because you love nature. You're such a, you
Yeah.
call it like Kiwi girl doing all of that stuff.
Oh,
What happened?
that's so true. Like 2011, I had a diagnosis of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which did, as you say, I really had no idea what that meant or what I could do about it. And it was at a time where I was wanting to do stuff in the outdoors, but honestly, fatigue was a really big player in that, as was adrenal health, like just feeling exhausted the whole time. So to
And
actually,
Kate, just to interrupt you, is that something that they say typically that people can't recover from, like in traditional, is,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's a big one. Basically, I got told that I needed medication for the rest of my life, and that my body was attacking itself, which I just at the time I completely questioned that. I just thought, nah, I don't agree with that. However, I had no idea what was actually going on. Um, and it wasn't until a friend further down the track, I'd actually started adventure racing in 2014 and did these races. And honestly, the first race, I was just in complete tears on the finish line. I was exhausted. And I just thought, oh my God, what have I just got myself into? And it was brutal. It was tough. But then 3 years later, a friend of mine gave me this book, the Medical Medium, and that was the game-changing piece. Honestly, I then began to adopt the protocols that were in those books. And
And that's a book written by, for those that don't know, Dr. Anthony Williams.
yeah, he's not actually a doctor, but
Okay.
his name is Anthony
Anthony
Williams.
Williams.
And the first book is called Medical Medium. But this book here was actually the one that, oh, it's going to be,
Life-changing foods, yeah. Our
yeah,
virtual background's messing with the title, but yeah.
exactly. So that was the book that I really focused in on for the adventure racing, and just to understand what are the foods that can really help me to
To turn it
just,
around.
yeah, just to turn it around
How
to,
long did it take you, Kate, once you started down that path of using like nutritional foods and juices and things in order to bring your body
mm,
back into balance? When
yeah,
did you start to notice you
yeah,
got your energy back?
it's a good question because I've now been racing for 10 years. And it has been a progression. Like, I didn't get these books to 2017. And so then once I started on that track, I just dived right in and started focusing on cleaning up the liver. And once I did that, things really began to pick up. So I had more energy. I didn't need an afternoon sleep. I could go out and train better. I would still, when I did a race, especially the 9 hour races, it would take me a couple of days to recover.
Yeah.
But what I have found now that I've learned more tricks and I feel internally uh, there's been more cleanup, that the recovery is so much quicker. And that's something that I want to focus on today is just what are those tricks that help you to, when you are training for an event, that help you to move forward
I would
faster.
love to hear about it, Kate, because as I shared the other day with you in a conversation, I was just horrified to learn that in these ultra marathons, people are
Yeah.
given basically just glucose to keep going in these, highly refined, like what Kiwis call, I never know the word for this, but candy Americans say, or sweets of the British say, but what do you call them? Lollies.
Jet planes. Oh, lollies. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
lollies. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that just seems like ridiculous to me that somebody who is an elite athlete demanding that much of their body would poison themselves with something that's. So
Yeah.
let's get into it. What
Yeah.
what have you found useful?
Okay, so what I think might be quite helpful is to for me just to talk through my race day so I did a race on Saturday, and what would be good is just to talk through before the race, during the race, and after the race, and so just
Yeah, I love
put
it.
it into into some context. Okay, so this race began at 8:30, so at least 2 to 3 hours before the race. I would be, well, 3 hours I'd be up. And the first thing I'd do is hydrate with lemon water, and a teaspoon of honey. And that is immediate fuel for the liver. It also flushes out toxins that the liver has put out. The liver wakes up at like 3 in the morning, 2 to 3 in the morning, puts out the rubbish, hydrate, flushes, and takes out that rubbish. So that's my number one is lemon water. Then about 20 minutes after, I do celery. Now, celery is a whole nother conversation. But in this context, celery has got so many electrolytes and it's super hydrating. So those are the two qualities that are pertinent right now, but it's way more than that. It's an antiseptic, it kills pathogens. It's just incredible. So
And
I
how much would you drink? How much celery juice would you?
Yeah, good question. So I do a liter of lemon water, so 32 ounces,
Yeah.
and then I would do exactly the same of the celery. So immediately I've got 2 liters on board.
And so this is still 2 to 3 hours before your race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say 3 hours before the race.
Okay.
And then about 20 minutes after doing that, I would then have my breakfast. And interesting, on Saturday, I decided that I was going to do a millet-based breakfast, and millet is really easily digestible. So I did millet with loads of bananas, blueberries, bit of cinnamon. Yeah, and so I ate that.
So you made a kind of a porridge with the millet?
Yeah, yeah,
And how
absolutely.
long does that take to cook? Like
Oh,
just
super quick,
10
super,
minutes or
super quick.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not even that. Five
Yeah.
minutes. It's I
And
just put boiling water on it, heat it up, and it's good to go. Add
you
in all the
stir in
flavor.
all those goodies. Do you use chia
Yep.
seeds as well?
Well, I don't, because in the morning I don't want any fats in my system.
Okay.
Nothing at all, because
Interesting.
as soon as you put fats in, the liver has to stop, create bile, and at this point in the morning, it's detoxing. And so you just want to work with what your liver wants. So no, I don't. But then what I do is 1 hour before the race, I will do a smoothie. And now this is really key, because it's got mango, which is an amazing food for exercise. It's got spinach. So the mango is bringing in the sodium, it's bringing in magnesium, it's bringing in the glucose. Then
And is
you,
this frozen mango, hun? Do you get to?
yeah,
Yeah, because
it
it's
is
sometimes hard to
actually.
get good ripe ones, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So what I tend to do is when I get up, I'll put the mango into my smoothie container and then just let it thaw out, so I'm not having it super cold.
Yes.
Then I add in a whole load of spinach, and spinach is giving you lots of mineral salts.
And that you grow in your own garden, so it's all organic year round.
Absolutely. And then a good hunk of ginger. And ginger is super good at protecting you and cleaning out lactic acid. So once you start generating that lactic acid, ginger is really good for that. So
When you say a good hunk, do you mean like maybe a centimeter, 2 centimeters of
yeah,
ginger root, like a
yeah, I think, and it just depends on how, I mean, I
tolerant
love
you are
ginger.
of that,
Like, yeah, exactly.
light?
Yeah. And then add in the coconut water and then
Mm.
make that smoothie. So that's about an hour before the race. Um, I also make a second one that I'm going to have during a transition actually in the race. And it would be probably about a good liter as well. So it's quite a
And that's in your
significant,
backpack.
it's in my backpack.
So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing as well is that you're taking in quite a lot of fluid. Does it mean that you're like having to stop and pee along the race, like quite often? Does it just go with that? I mean,
Yeah,
I
you do,
enjoyed
you
that.
do. But you've still got because you've hydrated, 2 to 3 hours. You get the
You've got
opportunity
time
before the
before.
race. Yeah, and I actually find that it's so funny because when you're on these races around anywhere around the South Island, you'll see women who are just downing
You just get
trout.
on with it. Yeah,
Absolutely, you
it's
just deal
lovely.
with it at the moment. Yeah, exactly. So then we've done the smoothie and we're feeling quite light as well. We're not feeling weighed down, which
Yeah.
is good. And then probably about 10 minutes or 15 minutes before the race actually begins, I'll eat a banana. So I am loaded up, I'm feeling full and I'm good to go. And then this particular race, and quite often, you on actually in this particular race, it was straight onto the bike and you were away on the bike. Now, on the bike, on the handlebars, I have two feeding stations. So before the night before, I will organize it. One of them will be filled with steamed potatoes, which is just like an amazing source of starch that gets easily converted into glucose. So it's a really good fuel source to have there. And then the other one will be filled with grapes. And grapes is hydrating. It's a great exercise food as well. So I've got those two stationed on my handlebars. So then the race begins, we're off. Oh, and on my back, I've got my camelback with water in it. And I just do straight water. Um,
When you
there
say straight water, so that's filtered water.
it is filtered water, but
Yeah.
I haven't. Sometimes I'll add electrolytes, but it's this particular race I didn't. Sometimes even just a squeeze of lemon juice is really
Do you
good.
ever use a bit of salt, like Himalayan or Celtic
No,
salt? No,
I don't because that celery juice in the morning is filled with
has the electrolytes and
yeah,
things you need.
absolutely. So I'm not looking for salt. Um, so then the race begins, and this particular race was 6 hours. It can be anywhere between 6 and 9 hours or plus, depending on how you're going. And so that involves a couple of transitions between the bike and then on foot and then back onto your bike again and then on foot. So it's changing. So you get opportunities to touch back in on your bike and feed more, or you're off on foot, you dump your bike and you've just got your backpack on. So you have to have food available. And sometimes I just have a bum bag in front of me and that can be my
And how
feeding.
often would you eat along the
Yeah, yeah,
track?
that's a good question. It would be probably every 20 to 30 minutes.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and another really good trick that I always have is dates. Now,
Yes.
dates are high in potassium and they're loaded with glucose and they absorb it's just like an energy boost. So that there, even when I'm training, I will have dates, or even my day to day in the car, I have a bag of dates. So if I get caught short and my blood sugars are dropping, a date or an apple is a really great thing to just.
And you don't find when you eat a high fructose fruit like a banana or a date or something that it crashes you?
No, and the big thing there is that I've had no fat. So there's no fat interfering with the glucose uptake into the cells.
Mm.
So if you look at what I've eaten that whole morning, it's fat free. So absolutely. The glucose it's going to go straight into those cells and you're not going to crash, which is really critical. But
And Kate,
conversely,
do you
yeah,
sort of do it in terms of the refeeding as you're going through the race? Do
yes.
you listen to kind of your body and when it says, "Oh, I need a boost," or do you just methodically every 20 minutes or half an hour or so feed?
Yeah, good question. I think what we do is because this is our 20th race, we or 19th race or whatever, um, you just get a sense of it. And we as a team will be, because there's times when it's really easy to feed. When you're on your bike, it's easy because it's right there. And there are times when we'll call out, is everybody eating? Are making sure that people are eating because it's very easy to forget and then you'll crash. And then, I mean, I've had situations where I'm just struggling, it comes a big uphill and I'm just like out the back door. And when you're working as a team, everybody is looking after each other. So there've been times when, one of my teammates will take my bike and she'll just say, just get eating, eat, eat, eat. And so that's what you do. So I think the more you do it, the more you get attuned to what your body is needing and just
Yeah.
listen to your body. But honestly, probably every 20 to 40 minutes. And this is because, there's products that you can buy that like gels and things,
Yeah.
which kind of give you a 40-minute window. And so that's quite good to have those for emergencies, but I choose not to rely on those because I prefer to get, foods in that I know are really good for me.
Yeah, I
And
hear you. I would be that way too. But in terms of your race buddies, did they kind of use the gels or did they follow the Kate Anderson sort of protocols of dates and potatoes and everything
yeah,
else?
no, we're all pretty much on the same page, to
Oh,
be
I
honest,
love it. So
which is,
you've
yeah, which is quite good.
inspired them.
Yeah, well, yeah. They, we all work together. It's a similar sort of feeding regime.
It must have been so exciting, Kate, when you started to feel your energy coming back, when you made this change and started eating that way, and all of a sudden, and then your race, I'm sure your performance as a team started to improve as well.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was like, um, you know, at the start, I would be in tears on the finish line,
Oh,
just shattered and just exhausted. And then slowly after each race, I kind of went, oh, actually, I don't feel like breaking into tears, or I actually feel like, I can function and I
like
can
you had
carry on.
resilience.
Yeah. And
Mm.
then there was the time when, because we were doing 6 hour races and then we were just blitzing them. And the organizers were like, hey, you girls, you need to be in the 9 hour race because, you've got more energy and you can carry on. And that was kind of
Right.
like, oh gosh, really? And so then our first 9 hour race, I was quite nervous about it. And we actually won the race. We were the first team in, which was phenomenal. And I felt like I could have carried on. And that
Amazing. And
that
you
was
were racing younger people too, right?
oh,
In their
absolutely.
20s,
We're
30s.
racing the 20-year-olds, all the fit girls. And it was like, but you've got to understand that with adventure racing, there's more to it than just simply the physical. There's just the management of yourself, there's the navigation, which like we said before, you can win and lose a race on making poor decisions or just not being able to find a control point. So it's quite cool. It's like a big treasure hunt looking for these
A lot of
for,
elements to it.
yeah, it's quite fun.
So, Kate, you've mostly talked about what you eat before and then during. How do you recover from a kind of an
Yeah.
endurance event like this? What do you do
Yeah,
the day
yeah,
after
good.
or the evening
Well,
after?
yeah, well, as soon as the race finishes, it's all about hydration and I'll just drink coconut water. I'll eat fruit, I'll eat more potatoes. And then when I get home, like this particular race on Saturday, there were kind of four things that I thought about. One was because for me, it's all about clearing out that lactic acid. And by doing that, your body recovers so much quicker and it enables you to go out and carry on training. So, um, celery juice is key. So, totally rehydrate yourself. And get in those mineral salts, those electrolytes. So that's key. Then ginger water is another real trick that flushes out the lactic acid. So that's a really good one.
And so when
Uh,
you say ginger water, let's slow down there. Hold on a second. How would somebody make ginger water? What?
yeah, okay. So what I do is I just get I slice fresh ginger, put it into a liter of hot water, so boiling water,
Yep.
and steep it. And I would steep it to the point where it's cooled right down and it's a potent brew of ginger. It's really, you drink it and it's like, it's a good hit of ginger. There's also another trick that I do, which is I juice turmeric, so the fresh
Yeah, the
root.
fresh ones. Yep.
Yep. And I also juice ginger as well. And what I do is run it through my juicer and then pour it into an ice cube tray and freeze it. So in my freezer, I have ginger and turmeric good to go. So I just take out a couple of hunks, let it defrost, add orange juice and drink it as a shot. And that's
Mm.
the good thing about turmeric is it's anti-inflammatory, and any little niggles or any, potential injuries that could blow out further down the track, it's just nipping those in the bud, and it's just reducing that inflammation. So that's something I always do. I have turmeric in my diet and juice turmeric, so that's a goodie. And then the other trick for hardcore people is juicing parsley. And some people would go, "Oh my God, that's crazy." But parsley is incredible. It's the biggest weapon against acidosis. So acidity that is accumulated in the body, the best way to get it out is bringing in parsley. And I'm talking
Just
about 4 to 6 cups of parsley. So I grow
masses.
stacks of parsley. I
Yeah.
do. And then
And is
what I
that
do,
the curly parsley or the French parsley?
yeah, well, it's actually the Italian flat leaf.
The
Is
flat leaf,
you
yeah.
can you can use you can use anything.
Be any
But there's,
nationality.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the one that has the most benefits is the Italian, which is a bit
Hmm.
crazy. But then you juice it, and if
Is that
you
stalks and all?
yep,
I
the whole
imagine you just
thing.
chuck it all in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can also put apples through it too if it's a bit hardcore. Because I think like when I first started it, juicing it, it was like, whew, that's quite a hit. But honestly, I my body craves it now. I love it. It's
Interesting. And you've
so
got a
good.
brand new juicer. I forgot to
Oh
ask you the name
yes.
of it, but what is this juicer that you love that's like
Oh, it's
turned
a
your life?
game changer. It's
Yeah.
called a NAMA, Nama, a
Nama.
NAMA J2. And what I love about it is that it's just got this really big hopper that you open up, you just load in all your ingredients, close it off, turn it on, and then you can walk away. You don't have to do anything. It's amazing. It's
Hey, I
really
wanted to ask you as well about the celery juice, right? Because it's quite hard sometimes to get organic celery. So if you
mm,
can't get organic celery, how do you mitigate the ill effects of celery being one of the most sprayed vegetables out there? What do you
yeah,
do to clean it up?
that's a good question. And that was definitely a concern for me when I first began, and I wasn't sure what to do. And for the first 3 years of juicing, because I've been juicing since 2017, so that's a good time. First 3 years, we couldn't even get organic celery, and I just used conventional because that's all I had. And I listened to this clip by Anthony William, who basically said, if you can't get organic, still juice. You've got to get the celery into you. And this is what you do. You just get a non-fragrance, like Castile soap, that is a liquid soap that you just put in with your water and you just give it a good scrub, and then you give it a really good rinse, and I rinse it a couple of times, and just juice, get it into your body.
Yeah.
And I honestly, the changes that I saw in those first 3 years on conventional was phenomenal. I
Mm.
had
And do you always isolate it? So you always, when you have your celery juice, you don't add any other juices, any vegetables to it. You just do
exactly,
celery, but you
it's
do
celery.
lots of other veggies juiced as well. But in those moments, you just focus
It's
on the celery. Yeah.
That's right. It's 100% celery juice.
Mm.
And
Bit of an
it
acquired taste, huh?
Well,
You probably love it by now, but
yeah, I mean, it's a medicine. It's an
yeah,
absolute medicine for me. And I think, um, yeah, I think the key is just giving it a good wash. And if you can get organic, then absolutely 100% go for that. And for me now, I can get maybe 5 months of the year with organic, and then the remaining is conventional. And there's lots of other tricks and lots of other things you can do to draw out any concerns around pesticides. There's actually a pesticide tea, a combination of 4 different ingredients that you can drink on a daily basis if you are really concerned
interesting.
about
What do you
that.
remember what those four ingredients are, or would you have
It's
to look them
got
up?
verbena is one of
Oh
it,
yeah.
burdock is another, ginger is another, and the third one. A fourth one, I think it's nettle, but I'll just have to double check on that. But it's if you Google pesticide tea medical medium, it'll come up with the combination. But it's
That's so cool.
yeah, yeah. So that's another kind of approach that you can take if that is a concern. And
Yeah.
there's like, within the protocols, there's the detox smoothie and the extractor smoothie. So there's lots of tools that you can use uh,
Yeah. And
if
I
there
love what
are.
he's saying about like do your best. You know, I have a phrase that I often say, do your best and forget the rest, because we can get kind of neurotic and perfectionistic around it. And to have him say that just if you can only get conventional, then that's what you do.
Yeah,
You're still going to get a lot of benefit out of it, you know.
absolutely.
Not
And
because the
I,
thought forms around the fear of like, oh my God,
yeah,
when somebody's dealing with, a serious health condition, it's like, oh my God, I can't do that. It's like, just get on with it, huh?
yeah,
There's an
exactly.
order to these foods in nature that we can just take into our bodies and that help to bring us back into balance.
And I think when you see the results in your body and you see how you feel, and that's why adventure racing has been so good for me, is because I've had a yardstick of going out there, pushing my body, um, being out there, and then seeing how it recovers. And to have seen over, the 10 years, like where I was 10 years ago and where I am now today, you can't even compare the two. It's like, I was a wreck. Took me like half the week to recover, but now, with these simple tools and the work that I've done, it's definitely it's way, way, way easier to recover and to move on and get back out there and enjoy being out on my bike or, running in the hills, whatever it is.
It's so inspiring. And I know like when we catch up, you're always, everyone else arrives by car and you always arrive by bike up the hill. So it's like whenever there's a chance to use your body in a vigorous way, you always choose it.
Yeah,
I love that
absolutely.
about it. Just your vitality, Kate, is so inspiring.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So if I don't know if people wanted to find you and reach out and kind of get more information or consult with you, where do they go to?
Um, yeah, thank you. I have an Instagram page, obviously, and it's KT underscore inspired healing.
So that's the letter K and then T
Yeah, K
underscore.
and T
In-
underscore and then inspired healing, because I've been, so inspired by other people's journeys, and it is my greatest wish to inspire others to just to learn what the tricks are and to
know that they
understand.
can turn their life around because it can
Yeah.
be so debilitating. So you don't have any symptoms anymore of Hashimoto's.
No, 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 no. I got rid of stopped the medication probably about 3.5 years ago now. And nope, gone. And I had probably about 20 different symptoms, brain fog, just fatigue. I had lots of skin issues. I had really bloating, gut issues. I mean, there were lots of things. And like once you understand what is actually at the core of it, what is at the root of it, which is pathogens and toxins, and you actually start addressing that, then it's just this nice, slow, gentle upward spiral. And the great thing about that is that the net result is more energy and being able to get out there and just do the things that you love to
Love
do.
life. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I'm
100%.
just noticing that you mentioned about not having fat in the morning while the liver's cleansing
Mm.
itself, but clearly you are somebody that does have fat in your diet, so you just eat it later in the day. What kind of healthy fats do you work into your
Yeah, it's
program?
interesting again because my fat content has completely reduced down. And there's a number of really good benefits to having low fat. But to answer your question, avocados would be in. Happily eat avocados. I'm not 100% plant-based. I will sometimes have fish or meat, but it's it's a lot less than it used to be.
Just and that works for
But
you. And I think everybody's body's
yeah,
a little different too, right? Some people seem to thrive on like a vegan diet with almost no fat or whatever, and other people seem to do better with some animal protein. So it's a question of just kind of listening and following, learning what
yeah.
works for you.
And I think, like you say, everybody is different. And what is different about people is what pathogens have they got inside them, what exposures have they had across their life, how stressful is their life, how much adrenaline are they running. There's lots and lots of factors that kind of go into what has been expressed in somebody's body. But I think if somebody is really chronically ill, then the benefits of going low fat to even no fat are huge. They're
Mm.
absolutely huge. And then when you're feeling, you're on top of things, then absolutely bringing in some fat.
Integrating them
But
back.
I would also observe that fat-free morning and, bring it in at lunchtime or later on in the day. I think that's a really good tool to have.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
is there any last advice you have for people who want to be able to have that kind of resilience or that endurance that you've cultivated over the last several years through the way that you've been eating? Is there anything that you would
Yeah.
with?
I think probably what I would say is that the three most neglected things would be firstly, hydration. So bringing a focus into really hydrating your body can be a game changer in itself. The second one would be the amount of greens, the leafy greens that is an area that gets missed quite often.
And are these raw greens in
Yeah,
smoothies and things
absolutely. Yeah,
and
raw
salads?
doesn't have to be juiced. It can be, and you can make some really delicious like spinach soup. So it's finding ways that you can easily get the greens in without having to eat a massive salad every night because that can be quite challenging. And then the third one is awareness around how much sleep you get.
Mm.
So bringing those three things together can really move you forward as well.
And do you have any nutritional sleep tip for people? Any sort of anything that you do, any hack you found that helps you to have a good night's sleep?
Yeah, I again this book, the life-changing food book, talks about mango as being the ultimate exercise food, but it's also when you combine it with greens. But then when you have it just on its own before bed, it's an amazing sleep tool.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
yeah, so one trick that I do before going to bed, sometimes is just make a little and also cherries are high in melatonin, which is really helpful for sleep. So a combination of the sleep smoothie, which has got mango, cherries, and a bit of banana with coconut water, and drinking that before going to bed is a really useful tool as well.
I find it hard to find tasty coconut water here in New Zealand. Do you have a favorite brand?
Ooh. I buy the organic one actually. Gosh, and what's the brand?
Some of them
Um,
taste wonderful and some of them are just
yeah.
unthinkable.
Oh, I agree with you. I really agree.
But look
Um,
for organic is basically what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. I do, and I buy it in bulk, so it's brings the price down.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so that's another good trick as well.
Very
Yeah,
cool. Well,
yeah,
it's a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to having other conversations about other areas of health and well-being. But I'm sure that anybody who wants to push their body to the limits, let's say, for the joy of it, like you do with your adventure racing, will be really inspired to learn some of your tricks. I've still got this idea of cold potatoes on a race in the middle of a race, but you light up when you talk about it. So I have to believe that it's
Oh,
something that's not too disgusting when you're
it
in the middle of
honestly,
it.
it's so good, and I could tell you more stories about cold potatoes, but it's something that I do rely on for sure. Yeah,
Amazing. Well, we'll save that for our next chat.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, Susanna. Really
Pleasure
appreciate
chatting with
the
you. I look
opportunity.
forward to the next one. Bye for now.
Okay, bye bye.